queer people in fashion and in beauty, they run the industry.
And with the industry that I'm in, fashion, making an income that is consistent is not the easiest thing to do.
You got to be known as a stylist more than a fashion designer.
Absolutely.
Right. Where did it start? How did you even recognize that I've got this talent?
I remember, like, when I started, one of the things my mom said to me at some point was, we see that you are busy. We see that you're doing things, but I chill it.
I think what I love is the fact that you didn't take it for granted, because for other people, things that come that way, they can easily take it for granted, but
Absolutely.
you really put in the work.
Your heart was open to receiving nothing. So how can God alone trust you with abundance when you can't even accept the little?
I know in other spaces or in other industries, there's a lot of discrimination that will happen, right? You come as a queer person, they overlook your skills, your abilities, your talents that you can contribute in a valuable way, but just because you're queer, you can be easily discriminated. How has it been for you? Welcome to another episode of The Real Queer Talk. I am your host, Tholo, the inimitable Motaung, and today I am so excited to be hosting a phenomenal creative that has established himself as a formidable entrepreneur in the fashion space, of course, and from styling the likes of Lut Love, Cat Cinematography, the Real Housewives, to styling our fashion icon, Bonang Mateva. He is a brand and image architect, a creative director, and also head honcho stylist of Helen of Troy Styles. Welcome.
Thank you.
Looking great as usual.
Thank you so much. Red for love, red for danger. I came for war.
That's what I always love asking you to say. Is it red for danger, red for love of power?
It's maybe red for love of power more than anything. Yeah. But thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate the opportunity being here. And what an incredible intro. Sometimes I forget myself until I hear it from the next person. I'm just like, is that me?
But it makes sense though, because I think when you work with passion, when you move with passion, you, like, your head is here, you're working, right? It's not about what will come. Whatever that comes beyond that, it's basically the results of the great stuff that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you're saying it, when you work with passion, you forget everything else that happens around you. All you focus on is mainly the work, your craft, what brought you to where you are. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of forgetting exactly what the craft is, and they focus more on who the craft is being delivered to, which for me, it's just been like a little bit of a touch and go when I'm seeing like the younger ones come up. I'm just like, the journey is still too long,
Take it one step at a time.
Take it one step at a time.
Yeah. And how important is that, really, taking one step at a time? Because a lot of time there's a saying that you must trust the process, but do we really even understand what it means for you looking back, to where you started?
Yeah, I mean, a journey, it starts with just a single step. Growth is not, something that happens in one day. The abundance that comes with the growth takes time. When I look at where I come from, where I've been with my life journey in my career, I realize that everything that I have accumulated today, everything that I have today, I have worked hard, so hard for it, Tholo. So much so that I just think back at my late dad saying to me when I was leaving home the one day and I was going on set, and the call time was 6 a.m. and I was not driving then, I was taking taxis, and I left home at 4 a.m. And I had not told, because I'm a person that just generally never wants to bother anyone. I just woke up, took a bath, and I left at 4 a.m. And my dad called me a bit later on. He said, "Where were you going at 4 a.m.?" I said, "I had work." And he said, "Why didn't you call me?"
Yeah.
I said, "I didn't want to bother you." But I think back at those moments and those days where I was like, it took, those steps that risked my life to get to where I am today.
Yeah. And the kind of work that you do, because it's Liz and Lamb, we many times we're not told about those instances where either you sleep late, you wake up early, and for a person like you who has also been in the industry for so long, what would you say kept you going? One day at a time, like you say, to be able to say, you know what, I need to push further.
Yeah. I think when you're passion driven, there's a lot in you there's these many voices in you that will tell you to keep going, even on days where you want to give up. The little voices I always say I'm a person of discernment. So this means I would know that my higher power, which has been God, I firmly believe in God. God will speak to you, and every time you feel like giving up, he will remind you why he put you where you are, because we are all vessels of different powers. We possess different powers in whatever it is that we do, whether you're a hairstylist, makeup artist, a fashion stylist, whatever it is that you do, there's a power that comes from a source, and that source will always remind you to keep going, even on days that are not good. I mean, with now been in the industry for about 10 years. 10 years exactly this year. And I remember just how many times I wished to give up, how many times I wanted to let go, because it's not that easy, And with the industry that I'm in, fashion, making an income that is consistent is not the easiest thing to do. You have to build a client list so that they trust you, so much so that every time they come back, then they are bringing money to your bank account, And when you start up, it's never easy, because it doesn't make you money. I remember, like, when I started, one of the things my mom said to me at some point was, "We see that you are busy, we see that you're doing things, but ikaichelet, meaning, where is the money?" Because I did not even bring like a packet of grocery maize meal or like a braai pack, something. I would just come home and open the fridge and eat. And you can understand, for a parent at some point, they just like, "But you're always leaving early, coming back home late. Where is the money?" So that motivated me a lot. The where is the money part of it. Not that I've been chasing the money. I think more than anything, I've been chasing the work element of it, because the money comes with the work element of it. Once you then get the rhythm of the work, then you'll get to understand that you can monetize what you are doing.
Incredible. And I want you to go back to where it all started, right? I mean, you got to be known as a stylist more than a fashion designer.
Absolutely.
Right? Where did it start? How did you even recognize that I've got this talent and I can actually professionalize it or take it as my profession going forward?
Yeah, so I've always been a fashion designer by heart. Taking it back to my primary school to high school days, I used to sketch quite a lot. I think I even still have sketches of dresses and stuff that I made, that I designed as far back as grade 6, and my mom kept all of that. So I always say that I was a fashion designer way before I became a stylist. I only got to understand the styling part of the craft a bit later in life. I think when I got to varsity, I met a stunning lady. Her name is Melody Molali. I love Melmo. I met I love Melmo, and we were on set on the one time for a brand, and she was an influencer for the brand. I think by then influencer was just starting, the influencer marketing term had just come in,
Okay.
or a marketing tool had just come in.
Yeah, fairly new.
Yes, fairly new at that time. And there were only about 5-6 influencers in the country by that time. And I always say that the influencers now don't understand how far back this comes from.
Right.
You know, because, you know, I think of 2013. This was 2013, by the way. 2013, influencer marketing had just started.
Yeah,
and here is brands coming in with, we're looking for influencers. They use key people that are in whatever field they're in.
Yeah.
Right. And on one of the days, Melody just said, I'm going on set. I was in varsity. I'm going on set. Would you like to come with me? And I said, oh, sure, no problem. She came to pick me up from campus. She took me to set. I got there. They were shooting a campaign. It was called back then Style by Essay.
Okay.
By Woolworths.
Yeah.
It was a very big campaign that Woolworths had been doing at that time. And they were shooting for top billing. And it so happened that on the very day, Bonang Matiba was the presenter for the segment of the Style by Essay campaign.
Yeah.
And they had a rail, but no one was there to navigate what was going on the rail.
Oh.
You know, the clothes that were on the rail.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there with my little cute outfit, you know, always dressed
Of course,
up.
you're going
to
on
the
set,
T.
you have to look the parts.
To the T, always dressed up, you know. I looked the part, and one of the producers said, "Hey, you
Come
here." I said, "Okay," and said, are you confident? Are you able to speak?
Yeah.
And I said, "I think I am," you know. And I was like, okay, cool. But before that, at least I had, because I studied media at Boston Media House, I had all the tools of being able to speak, being able to communicate, being able to, I wasn't shy, you know. And it so happened then that they're like, okay, take us through the outfits. And I took them through the outfits. On the next week, I watched Top Billing. My tag, you know, when your name comes up there, it says Troy Molaiwa stylist, and I'm like, oh, I'm a stylist. I'm like, oh, I'm a stylist now. And it so happened then I became a stylist since then. And then I was invited to an event, I think about a week later. And I was called in for an interview, and they're like, oh, we're chilling here with stylist to the stars, Troy Molaiwa. And I'm like, when did I become a stylist?
It located you.
It located me. So when something is for you, it is going to come to your doorstep, and nothing, absolutely nothing is going to stop that.
Sure.
Yep.
That's an incredible journey. And I think what I love is the fact that you didn't take it for granted, because for other people, things that come that way, they can easily take it for granted, but you really put in the work to make it happen. And I mean, you went as far as being head stylist for AFI.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Wow. I think that's one of the biggest highlights in my career. Right. And I'm saying biggest highlights in my career because I've got the funniest story as to how I got to AFI. So I used to work for, not really work, a friend of mine used to work for a company called Umzingeli Productions.
Okay.
They do mostly productions for fashion shows, put together fashion shows for Africa Fashion International.
Okay.
And they never had enough dressers. So they would call me in to come be a dresser. You know, and I would go in. It wasn't even about the money. It was more about what do I experience. I wanted, because back then we didn't have social media where you were exposed to garments firsthand. Back then you had like a David Lale garment, a Tula Cindy garment that you would see only on the runway. And my vision then was, if I actually go and touch the actual garment and feel the fabric and see what the big designers are actually doing and using, that for me will be important. And I did that for quite a bit. I think I did dressing for about 3-4 years. And it just went on as time went by. If I never even called me back, you know. I think just shortly after lockdown 2021, in our depressed stage, you know, lockdown
that was a challenging time.
It was a very challenging time for everybody. And I always say that my turnaround time, or rather my success time, my rebirth time, was lockdown. So with the COVID-19 pandemic, it was either you made it or you lost it all. And I was fortunate enough to have made it during the pandemic, because then there weren't a lot of shoots. There weren't a lot of
it was very
no one was
quiet.
trying to do anything. It was very quiet. And when they called me, they were like, "Hey, listen, we've got about 5 people on set because it's COVID. We'd like to shoot product catalogs.
Okay.
And we'd like to shoot designer stuff. Do you mind coming in and being our stylist?" And I said, "Absolutely, why not?" And I went, I did my job.
Yeah.
And I think about a month later, they were like, "Actually, we like you. We like your energy. We like your vibes. We just like you. Would you mind joining Africa Fashion International as our head stylist for House of Nala, which is their boutique, luxury boutique?" And back then it was at the Leonardo. And that's when I was just like, I am,
this is huge.
It felt like a child coming to Joburg for the first time. I was like,
the excitement.
Excitement, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna, like, I had the entire plan. I had an entire plan of how it's gonna everything is gonna turn out after I start FI House of Nala, because I had been in the space for that long, but as a junior. So to be called back in a senior position, it was quite
That's
a big
incredible.
deal for me. Yeah.
That's incredible. But I want to take you back a little bit, because you said when you started, you did it, without getting paid, right? How important is that, particularly in the fashion space? Because many times people want them to be paid. I can't just be a volunteer. That's
absolutely. My time. There is a reward for everyone who does something out of their heart. Not everything is about money. My sister, who is, a huge pillar of strength to me, Josti, always says, count your losses. By the time you're done counting your losses, your wins will replace all your losses. So if you've got 5 losses in your hand, your wins are going to come back individually and they will multiply by 10. So then you'll have double the blessing, because your heart was open to receiving nothing. So how can God alone trust you with abundance when you can't even accept the little? You know what I mean? So it's not easy working for nothing. It is not easy being, taking taxis, taking Ubers, Gautrains, and running around Johannesburg trying to help designers, help other stylists, help everybody with your own money or with just the little money that you might be getting either from your parents or the little work that you've been doing. It's not easy, but once you understand that there are things that you need to just do from your heart so that they attract more, then you are good to go. Because then I always say, where I am in life right now, I lack nothing in my career because I have worked for everything. And
you got the necessary exposure you needed that prepared you for now.
That prepared me for now. That prepared me for now, absolutely. Because there's things and there's certain individuals that a junior stylist or somebody that has not had enough experience can't even handle. There are big industry giants that when they walk in the room, somebody younger will tremble, and I've gotten to a point where when somebody big comes in, if you've worked for AFI, you've obviously worked with big designers, big celebrities, big people. So when they walk in, I'm already ready to receive them because I know exactly what I will bring to the table.
And talking about that, how important are relationships?
I got to learn the importance of relationships very early in my career, which is probably why I wouldn't say I'm a favorite stylist, because there's many of us, but I know with the people that I've worked with and people that I have encountered, I do have or hold a special place in their hearts because I generally approach them with respect, with love. I create relationships and nurture the relationships just so tomorrow they're able to still come back to me and say, "Hey, Troy, I need A, B, C, and D. Would you be able to assist?" And those are important. You never burn your bridges at any point. you have to always be cautious. I'm very cautious with even the smallest thing as what I post, on what I tweet, what I put on my stories, what I post. It shouldn't offend the next person, Sometimes you'd find somebody on the red carpet not dressed amazing, but you never know, that's your next client. You never know, that could be your next bag. So if you're gonna sit there and say, yeah, no, that person looked like they come from wherever, a slum, and they dress like this, that will always stick in their minds, so much so that they can never trust you with their image, because then you have painted them in this light. And it's just, for me, it's just not cute.
It isn't really.
It isn't cute.
It isn't. And
constructive criticism is good.
Right. And with the impact of social media, how things are going as well, it's really, we have to be sensitive, because I think we dehumanize celebrities and prominent people to that extent that it's easy for a person to sit behind a camera or to type and just say whatever without thinking that they're also human and they also have emotions, right? So
the Dreamstream studio in Randburg is a full-service studio on Bram Fisher Drive. It's perfectly suited for podcast, music recordings, and general video recordings. Backed up by an experienced editing and production team means you can walk in, record, and walk out knowing that everything will get done as you require. Our mobile gear ensures we can cover your video and live streaming needs on location too. We got the cameras, the lights, and the action to make you and your brand shine. Contact us now, studio@dreamstream.co.za, and we'll make it happen. Dreamstream, a place to create yourself.
I mean, queer people in fashion and in beauty, they run the industry, right? And I'm just curious to know, in your career history, has that been an advantage for you? Because I know in other spaces or in other industries, there's a lot of discrimination that will happen, right?
Yeah.
You come as a queer person, they overlook your skills, your abilities, your talents that, you can contribute in a valuable way. But just because you're queer, you can be easily discriminated. How has it been for you?
I think before you are queer, you are a human being. Before your image alone, you are somebody inside. And, whatever it is that is inside reflects to the next person. I always, like I said, in the morning, I was speaking to a friend of mine, and I said, I'm going for an interview with Tholo today. Do you know Tholo's heart? That's what I remember more about Tholo than anything else. I just remember Tholo's heart. It's just then the impact with the encounters that we've had. So I think more than anything, let's put the human being first before they are queer, before their sexuality. And going just to your question, that has it been an advantage for me? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Especially with women. It is very easy for women to trust us with their bodies, to trust us with how they look, to trust us with their opinion, to trust us with just generally who they are. You walk in on set and you find a woman just like, oh, well, let me just take off my bra, and they throw the bra and you're just like, okay. In the beginning, it was very awkward because then you're not used to seeing.
Right.
And then eventually you're just like, oh, I'm used to all
it's
of this.
Part of the work.
It's part of the work,
But I get you when you talk about them being comfortable, because they know you create a safe space for them. I mean, I've had assistants who were not queer, and I would see it that it is an advantage where they would rather prefer me in the room, and then they'll ask, can you please wait outside so that you come in when I'm done dressing? So that is a level of trust that you give as a queer person to the next person, and it so goes to straight guys as well. They're able to just take off their pants and just wear and just say, hey Troy, quick one,
it's fine, don't leave the room. And because of the respect that we have for them, you want to leave the room for a bit and just say, okay, let me give you space to wear your pants, and then I'll come back after you wear your pants. But it's just gotten to a point where, because they know you're queer, they're just like, well,
right,
there's nothing that's gonna happen in their room, so just
let's just do this.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I love how when you explain that it's also creating the safe space for a client, because that is the priority, that a person can trust you because of that. And another exciting thing, so mid-year last year, Troy launched a lookbook, and it was titled "The Woman in Me." Right. I feel like that's probably one of your milestones.
That is one of my milestones, absolutely. I must say, actually, was my biggest milestone.
Right.
Because it was all my dreams as a young boy, to design from scratch, design everything myself. And that is an achievement because I had the privilege to go to a fabric shop, put fabric together, sketch, put down things and say, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? And when it came out and it translated exactly how I wanted
how you expected it,
out, then all the memories of the younger Troy started coming back. I always say that I had a friend in primary school. Her name is Prudence. And we actually connected a couple of years ago.
Okay.
We both loved designing so much. We would sit together on a desk and we'd both sketch.
Wow.
Both sketch, and we would have ideas together. Mind you, this is primary school. And she is now,
it's always been in you.
It's always been in both of us. I think she's now one of Gertjan Kutsi's head designers. And every time I look back, I'm just like, actually, when something is for you and it is called with your name written on it, you are called with your name written on it, it will definitely be for you. But the lookbook is very close to my heart. I launched it last year, 2024, and I'm looking to do another one this year.
Okay.
To mark my 10 years in the fashion industry and in the styling industry. But I think that just set the tone to where I am going with my brand, where I'm going with the type of women I'd like to dress, where I'm going with, the type of fashion that I want to put out there. You know what I mean? So when I launched The Women in Me, it really did bring a lot of pride deep in me. And even the title on its own, The Woman in Me, is like, it's very special,
and it's an interesting title to go by. What inspired it?
The woman in me, it's basically not the woman in me. It's the women in me. It's three very important women in my life, being my mom and my two sisters, who have shaped my a journey into being the man I am today. So basically, the woman in me is just a mirror effect. It's almost just like looking at myself in the mirror and seeing the three women that have been so confident in me, never judged me growing up, never for a second thought I was a weird child for loving dresses and loving fabrics and loving color and loving things that were not what a regular boy would love. I was not the boy that played with soccer balls and I was always the boy that used to color. I loved coloring, to date I still have color therapy. I still do. I would have a full page, a full day to myself, just color out of therapy, and I remember just at a point in my life, my mom said, when I was going to high school, grade 8, she says to me, don't play with girls when you get to school. Play with boys. And it hurt me because she knew that most of my friends were girls in primary school. Even at home, when I'd play, go strating,
Martini
and stuff. Most of my friends were girls, and I would be paired with the girls. And when she said that, it hurt me. But as I grew up, I realized that she was protecting me from kids. Kids can be cruel in school. Kids could be mean to you in school. But she was protecting me from those kids. Unfortunately, we are individuals. Our parents are not in school with us. You will encounter bullying. You will encounter people disliking the human being that you are. And the minute I grew out of my shell and I said, no, actually, you know what? This is me. I'm my own person.
I'm just going to live my life.
I'm just going to live my life. Then I started making friends with the girls, and then I just started then appreciating women more because I was protected a lot by women, even in school. I was cushioned a lot by my friends in school. Every time I'd go back home and I'd cry and be like, oh, I was being bullied. My mom was like, were you playing with girls or boys? And I was like, well, girls. And she's like, what did I say to you? And I was like, well, I think so. Yeah, so the women in me has really shaped all those elements. And as a queer man, you need that protection. You need that assurance that everything is okay. Because towards the end, she was just like, be who you are. Love yourself for who you are, and then everyone else is gonna love you. And I blossomed to the world, and it has never been the same ever since then, because then I started living my truth and I started living who I am, and I've been happy since.
I mean, I can tell, even people that follow you can tell that this is a happy human being.
Absolutely.
And in the work that you do, what do you communicate? Would you like to communicate, whether it's intentionally or it's just part of your journey, to say this is what I want to communicate to the world?
So my story, and I'm gonna say my story or our story with my sister. I spoke about her a little bit earlier on. I do speak about her a lot because she's my hero. And we have just come so far together, so much so that we just look at each other and we just say, we're proud of who we are. We are. We call each other breadwinners, and not breadwinners because we are breadwinners of the family, but we have conquered bread in a context of
also that you are now independent.
We are independent. We've got enough.
Incredible.
To be able to be multiplied to whoever that's around us. So, when you say, what is it in it for me, I would always just say that we want to hear the cry of the African child, particularly the South African child. We want to, so we do have an initiative in a group. It's called Each One Build One, where we encourage each other to grow in our own businesses, in our personal lives, where if I uplift Tholo, Tholo gets the courage to uplift the next person. The next person will be getting the courage to lift the next person. And that is exactly what I want to be remembered as in the fashion industry. A lot of people that have worked with me will tell you I am not a selfish, human being. My business has grown because I was able to give out opportunities to, people that would DM me, people that would message me and say, hey, we're looking for an opportunity. We do not know how to get into the industry or the styling industry. Can we come and intern with you? Can we come and see what you do? Can we spend a day with you? And I've always been open to that because I do want to hear the cry of an African child, the cry of a South African child. Sure. Many of us did not have the opportunity to somewhat be given, leeway into how the industry works and what the ropes are. I call my stylists or colleagues, my graduates, because they come in my life, and when you come into my life, it will never be the same because I'm part of Each One Build One. Sure. It will never be the same. I think one of my most proudest graduates is head of department for the Mummy Club, South Africa. And all the others as well have done so great with the projects that they've done, and it's simply because I was able to give someone an opportunity so that they see how it's done. The pie is big for all of us, guys. You can't take everything. You can't handle everything on your own. However, if you trust that people can expand, your name will always leave a legacy after that.
It always do, because you always see, you're also extending yourself in a way. And I think being selfless like that, it's also evidence of the saying that great leaders are able to create other leaders.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what you're doing. And I pray that God, protects you, because people like yourself, we need them the most in society.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, there'll be people that take advantage of the good heart that you have. So I pray that God protects you and bless you even more, because really you're going to outlive yourself. Your legacy is going to outlive you, because that's exactly what you're creating into the future, right? And I want us to move from work.
Okay.
Right. And talk, because you're well traveled, man. Like I can't not talk about that. I mean, one moment in Dubai, the next day in Thailand. But like how do you choose the kind of places you go to?
To date, first of all, I still don't know how I make the time to actually go and travel for that long. Because when I travel for quite a long time. And I do not travel one country at a time. I try to squeeze them all in a short space of time, because my work is so demanding that I cannot afford to be off now and then travel, come back again and then travel again. I can't afford to do that, because obviously I work a lot with public figures, celebrities. They would want to have me present most of the time. So by all means, I try with my less busy seasons. I would then go away, or I would, around my birthday, I'd then have an excuse and say, it's my birthday, can't be around. So yeah, I do enjoy traveling quite a lot. It inspires me a lot. And what are some of the things that when you look back, either they were outstanding experiences that or outstanding lessons that you found yourself bringing back with? There's traveling broadens your horizon. I've never been the same ever since I started traveling abroad. I've never applied things the same, whether it is work on a personal level. I've just opened my mind to different experiences and different things. I'm able to walk into a restaurant and ask for a certain cocktail that I've had where I was, because it reminds me of the experience. I'm able to tell you that, oh my word, this is very popular when you're in Singapore. This is very popular when you're in Tokyo. When you're wearing it, I'll be like, oh, this reminds me of where I am. So traveling really gives you the ability to be in the know of what is going on out there. TV alone, social media alone is not enough. There's just
you need to experience.
You need to experience. You need to learn. You need to understand cultures. You need to like, with all my travels, I've come back with different cultural elements that have inspired a whole lot of either my dress sense, how I style, how I communicate. There'd be days where when I have a conversation, I would throw in a little bonjour, a little sawadika, a little, little things, or like a habibi. And, I would throw in all those elements, because I gathered, all these experiences that turned me into this cultural, diverse human being. Yeah,
incredible. And one of the things that I also
The Dream Stream Studio in Randburg is a full-service studio on Bromfisher Drive. It's perfectly suited for podcast, music recordings, and general video recordings. Backed up by an experienced editing and production team means you can walk in, record, and walk out knowing that everything will get done as you require. Our mobile gear ensures we can cover your video and live streaming needs on location too. We got the cameras, the lights, and the action to make you and your brand shine. Contact us now, studio@dreamstream.co.za, and we'll make it happen. Dreamstream, a place to create yourself.
Took note of is how impeccable you are in terms of how you dress at different places, because it will actually fit where you are.
Yeah.
Right. Take us through that process. Do you plan ahead? What inspires that?
In most cases, I walked in here and I told you that a stylist also needs a stylist.
You did.
Right? So,
which I did not think of at all.
a stylist also needs a stylist. It's like a doctor needing a doctor to remedy whatever it is that they're going through, so in most cases I do dress myself. I do trust myself in that regard, because I've always loved clothes and style. I think beyond fashion there's the style element. There's a difference there, so there's then the fashion where you would custom make something that is like the full fashion package, and then there's the style where you can go and buy A, B, C, and D and put it together. So much so that it makes sense. And when I travel, I do not go the fashion route. I have to go the style route, and that is where I excel the most, because I'm able to just walk in a store and say, that top will go with this pants, and that pant will go with this, these accessories. So when the process it's quite exciting.
I can imagine.
Because it literally got into a point where I'm just like, I don't even plan it anymore. I just wake up and go, I'm going to the stores 2 days before my trip. I'm going to the stores. I'm going to go get myself some things to wear for the trip. But the research, of course, on where you are going, obviously you have to research, okay, if I'm going to Abu Dhabi, what restaurants are in Abu Dhabi? What's the atmosphere? Okay, the color schemes that I could go for. All that research, by the time you get there, you're prepared. You know exactly what you're wearing for what occasion. So I always say pack at least 20 outfits when you travel. Pack 20 outfits, take as much pictures as you can. So the memories last longer. And then I probably change like 5 times in one day. I'll change for breakfast, I'll change for brunch, I'll change for lunch, I then change for maybe if I'm going for an occasion, exciting, and then I'll change later on for dinner. I make it exciting, because those also, remember what you wear, it translates into a memory of where you were. So I will remember that this specific suit, I wore it first at Tholo's podcast. I remember very well that, that it creates special moments even for your own clothes.
Ooh. And thanks for those tips. We're learning.
Right.
We're learning.
Right. Yeah.
And how do you navigate the issue of, because I've traveled as well, and one of the things that I'll always think of is there are countries that have anti-homosexual bills, and for people that we live authentically, those are some of the issues that you have to think about. How do you navigate that?
I've had 2 incidents that were quite disturbing. One being in the UAE. My phone cover was the rainbow flag. And because we live in a free country, South Africa is a beautiful country for us queer people. I remember on the day I was going to the mosque, and I had forgotten, because
it's like your daily
South Africa
thing.
is a day-to-day thing. I even forgot. I mean,
it's just a phone cover.
Also, I mean, if you give it to a 3-year-old and you show them what phone cover is this, no one will. They won't even be able to pick up that it's a rainbow. It stands for A, B, C, and D. And I remember we went to the mosque. I changed into what do they call it? But the regalia, just for respect reasons. I am Christian. I just went for the experience, just to clear that out.
Just to learn how
things go. Also when you are, in a different country, it is important to just also abide to what they.
Out of respect.
It's not that you're following the religion. It's just that you're respecting. I would also just take whoever that is visiting South Africa and say, hey, listen, I'm going to church. do you mind just coming to church with me? And, you know, this is how we dress when we go to church. And that was exactly what was going on. And I remember I was on a phone call. And the cover was very loud, you know, born this way. And I was on the phone call. I was like, hey, how are you? I'm good. Oh, look. Then I did a video call. Then we switched to a video call. Then I think because it was in the phone, it wasn't that visible.
Okay.
But the minute I put it in front of my face, then the officials came running. I had about 4 officials.
What?
I had from different angles, from different sides. I had one come this way, one come that way, one come through the back, and one come through the other side. And all of them came to me and they surrounded me and they said, that cover is not going to go in. And I was like, what do you mean? I'd also forgotten. I was like, what do you mean this cover is not going in here? It's just a phone cover.
Yeah.
You know? And they said, no, it's not allowed into, you know, the space. And the one asked me and they said, are you, you know, queer? And I said, unfortunately, because I know the laws of different countries, I said, no, this is just
because
a
also
phone
you're not
cover.
going to be safe if you said yes.
Exactly. You know, I would love to be boldly and proud and walk around, you know, proud, but
you
have to be cautious, especially when you're traveling, because then you cannot be in trouble in a different country. This means you're going to be incarcerated for
it's going to be a
very long time,
thing.
or you are under scrutiny. Remember, then that when you declare that, yes, I am queer, that means you are being followed by people, you know. They will know exactly where you stay. They will know what you do. They will monitor your movements, that if there are people walking in the hotel, where are they going? They will even notify the hotel staff. That's how hectic it is.
Sure.
Notify the hotel staff if there is someone that walks in here and it so happens to be another man, just let us know. And next thing, they will be knocking at your door and you're arrested simply because of who you are, you know. And that was the first incident. Luckily, they were understanding enough. They asked to take my cover, to confiscate my cover, and they confiscated my cover. I was really hurt. You know?
I can imagine.
They confiscated my cover and they said, when you leave, you'll find it with me. One of the officials was very nice. He said, when you leave, I'm going to put it in my pocket. When you leave here, come straight to me and then you can take your cover back. And I went in, I went out. But the experience wasn't great because already at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm in a place where I'm not...
You can't be freely you.
Freely me.
And also you feel like now there's surveillance over me.
Absolutely, absolutely, you know. And that is the biggest fear, that, okay, I'm being watched. You know, now I have to...
act in a certain way,
myself in a certain way that is not who I am, you know. So then the second experience was in Africa. Sure, it was a very unpleasant experience, but I think I left and I was like, I don't think I'll do that country again. I went to Zambia.
Okay.
Can we name countries?
We can.
Just now.
We should. We need to.
Ban me in Zambia. I went to Zambia and we were with a friend. We were shooting a TV show. And I mean, he's very loud and proud. I mean, I'm loud and proud, but you wouldn't even say if it's a normal person out. You just look at a very stylish man just walking into the room. You know, he's loud and proud, you know. And we flew in the day, and later that day there were police and officials at our hotel. And they said, tomorrow morning you need to leave our country. And that was the most shocking thing that I've experienced. You know, when you are put in a position where your friend has to leave a country because of who they are, you cannot stay. So we stayed just one day in the country, and we left. We came back home.
So you didn't even have got an opportunity to work?
Not at all. We didn't get... Everyone else stayed and they worked. But I was just like, if this is what is going on,
I wouldn't stay either.
I'd rather also just leave, because it does not sit well with me, and it's not what I stand for. You know, I stand highly firm for us in the community. I advocate for individualism. I advocate for, you know, self-awareness. everyone should be aware of who they are, and they should be allowed to be who they are without judgment, without any, being made to feel that they don't belong.
Yeah. Sure. We're running out of time.
Yes.
But before I let you go, how do you rest? You're so busy. You are so busy.
Tholo,
do you find time to rest? Do you make time to rest? How do you take time out?
You're right. I'm very busy, and when I say I'm busy, I don't think a lot of people understand when I say I'm busy. Only the ones close to me, they know
because
that
they see you,
because they see me in my busy schedule. In most cases, I also come back home and I sit down and I'm just like, I don't even recall my own house. I don't recall sitting on a couch and watching TV because I am always out and about, and it's always work. So much so that I do not handle or deal with my personal issues or personal things, So unwinding for me would be traveling. Like we spoke about my travels. I travel quite a lot. I've been to various countries simply because I want to clear my mind.
Time out.
I'm a huge advocate for mental health. And the importance of taking care of, your mental well-being. I even before we started the conversation, I did say that I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety at some point, and I'm overcoming that through therapy, and by the grace of God, I'm even off medication.
Amazing.
I'm free of my antidepressants. It's been a while now. And how I now unwind is I would, call my loved ones. They would check up on me. I would check up on them. I've also now started learning solo dates where I just take myself out for a glass of wine or coffee or, whatever it is that, fulfills me, or a meal, my favorite meal, So I generally just do things that make me happy as an individual, because I've just been a people's pleaser for so long, and that's where that's where the root of my mental health got, because I wanted everyone else to be okay. I occupied everything else with work. I just kept on going, moving, so much so that when I'm quiet, I'm alone in my room, and I look at my four walls, I'm just like, who am I? I saw myself in many parts losing who I am. Not remembering who Troy is, not remembering how Troy looks, not remembering what Troy looks like with a haircut, not remembering what nails Troy should do, what color nails should Troy do. We spoke earlier on, and I said, your nails are so nice. I said, I went to my nail tech and I couldn't even remember the number. The color number, because I had not done my nails for so long. I would just sit at home, cut my nails with a clipper, goof, sit down, and just that's it, because I feared then going out and being perceived as, a human being that is a certain way. And I'm gonna just touch base a little bit on where that also came from. It came from a past relationship that I was in, and the person towards the end of the relationship made me feel like I was not worth anything. It made me feel like I'm the worst human being because I'm always busy, because I'm always doing this, I'm doing that. So it then became a whole thing of we're not selfish. When ibile, a lot of people don't want to be around you, because don't even want to call you, because when you're always busy, you think you're the star of the show. Every time we're together, every time we're at a restaurant, someone has to say hi to you. Every time we go out, you're always just being, Then I lost myself in all of that, because I was trying to now build a newer character where I was just like, okay, let me not be the selfish person. Let me not be the I know everyone. When I walk into a room, if I know someone,
yourself, you're becoming somebody that you're not.
Becoming somebody that you're not. But in the long run, you don't realize that it is affecting your mental well-being, because then when you sit down and get home, you're like, yo, I didn't even get the opportunity to greet Tholo at an event because this person doesn't feel comfortable with that, or I couldn't even buy somebody a birthday gift because now it's going to come across as, oh, you're just giving too much, you're just opening yourself to a lot of people. Why is it that you want to open yourself to a lot of people but for me? And you don't realize that these slight comments from somebody you love and you trust with your heart and your life could actually damage who you are. And in the long run, I got to realize that I am not okay. I started sleeping quite a lot. I started procrastinating work. I started canceling gigs. I started sending my assistants out to do jobs. I just wanted to be home, sleeping, I always say my bathroom became my safe space, because that was where I got to look at myself in the mirror and talk to myself. And it became my safe space, and it also remedied me, because then it was a very confined space where I could not run anywhere else. I could not run to a restaurant. I could not run to a friend. I just had the bathroom to deal with myself. This means I'll look at myself in the mirror and talk to myself and say, hey, you're doing well. You're okay. It's okay. You're not selfish. You're selfless. Affirmations. Those are important. And even for younger queer men or women that are dealing with, things like mental health issues, it is important for you to remind yourself that you are worth it, whether it is in a mirror, whether it is on a video, that you'll keep on looking at it over and over again. It is important. So for me, unwinding is just, doing all those things that take care of Troy in the inside, beyond the outside, because everyone else, they see the outside and they think, oh my God, so amazing, so fabulous, so stylish, everything is together.
Another part.
Absolutely. There is another part that a lot of people don't know. And I think from now onwards, I just generally want to be a huge advocate for mental health, because I used to be so judgmental. I used to be that person that be like, why? What's wrong?
You need to keep going.
Yeah, you need to keep going. Like, have a drink, do something, do something. Up until I got into the space, and then I realized that
And how do you plan to contribute in that space as an advocate?
I'm still going to work through how I plan to contribute, but the first step is voicing out my story. Voicing out where I've been with my mental health, voicing out that it is possible to overcome mental health. It is possible to get off antidepressants. It is possible to get off whatever substance that whoever is on. I just want to speak to younger queer people that I know that it's not easy. I know that you go through a lot on a daily basis. I know that there's things that trouble you, but there is ways to overcome that. And I would generally love to have mini queer talks where we have panels and we speak about such things. We remedy each other. We spend the day with young queer people and just say, hey, it is okay. We are here because we have overcome certain situations. You can do it too. So we have to always think for the younger ones that are coming up after us that it is still going to be a longer journey for them.
Troy, there is so many layers to you.
Absolutely.
Very interesting.
I feel
and I feel like sometime we'll have to call you back and talk about other things.
For part 2.
Right? But thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for sharing so much. I think you've given so much. It's been inspiring. It's been educational. And I just want to wish you all the best in every aspect of your life. It's been a great journey for you. And and I believe that there's more to come. Now even at a global level, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of global things that are happening this year. I'm not going to be home for a while, but yeah, there's a lot. Yeah.
And for viewers, where do they follow you to check out what you get up to and stuff that you get involved in?
So I am on Instagram at The Fashion Official, but if you search Troy Molaiwa, you'll find me there. I'm probably one of 3 Troys that are popular in Joburg. Probably, if not at the top, I'll probably be. No, I'm at the top.
At the top.
I'm at the top. So yeah, you can just search Troy on Instagram, on Twitter, Troy Molaiwa, or The Fashion Official. And then my brand name is Helen of Troy Styles. The face that launched 1,000 ships.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm also there as well. So yeah, we can interact if you are, looking for style advice, styling projects. You hit me up. If you're young, queer, and fabulous, and also like things, I do also offer internships. We're gonna also open up one now, so if you will follow me, we're gonna open up one for our initiative Save the Dance, where we just give back to young matric students that are unfortunate to get the opportunity to be styled and dressed for their matric dance. So yeah, that's
amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Thank you so much for being here. That is Troy Molaiwa, and don't say I didn't give you a plug. You see, now you know who to go to, and it is the stylist. And thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe and also leave your comments, whether it's some of the people that you'd like us to host or some of the topics that you'd like us to cover. You're welcome to leave a comment. Until the next one, from me, it is a goodbye for now.